All right, everybody, I call this house to order. So we're almost ready for the demonstration debate. As you can see up on the screen, we have the motion, we have the names of the speakers in their order, and on your debate notes forms, you can write down their main points. You probably can't write everything they say, but you can write their main points. So before we begin the debate, each speaker will introduce him or herself and just give you a little word of greeting. We can start with the opening government team from ESS. And we have the Prime Minister, Keita Chiba.
My name is Keita Chiba. I am second grade of Kyushu University. My major is agriculture. Today's motion, I play Prime Minister. Thank you.
And as Deputy Prime Minister, Kodai Kitajima.
My name is Kodai Kitajima. I'm a second year student. My major is law. I will play Deputy Prime Minister.
In opening opposition, we have a team from the Debate Association of Ewha. So, Leader of Opposition, Lee Jin-soo.
And my name is Jin-soo Lee, and I study business in Ewha Women's University. And my position is Leader of Opposition. And Hajime Mashite.
Here. And our Deputy Leader of Opposition, Kim Hae-young.
Hi, my name is Hae-young Kim, and I'm a second year majoring in political science and international relations. And I'm going to play the role of DLO. Thank you.
Okay, in closing half, for closing government, we have another team from Debate Association of Ewha. Member of government is Kim Mi-han.
Hi, my name is Lee Kim. I'm from the Debate Association of Ewha. I'm the current president, and I major in English language and literature at Ewha Women's University. And today I will be a member of government. Thank you.
And our whip is Lee Min-jung.
Hey guys, my name is Min-jung Lee, and I'm a sophomore of Ewha Women's University, majoring in English language and literature, and I'll be the government whip for today's debate. Thank you.
And finally, we have closing opposition from ESS. We have in member of opposition, Tomohiro Nakano.
My name is Tomohiro Nakano. I'm a second grader in this university, and I'm studying literature.
And for our whip, we have Kenji Tomita.
Nice to meet you. My name is Kenji Tomita. I am a second year law faculty student of the Kyushu University, and I am the chief of the Kyushu University ESS Parliamentary Debate Section. Today, I will be the opposition whip for the debate. Thank you.
So if you want to join ESS, I guess you have to talk to him. All right, so now that the debaters have introduced themselves, we will begin today's debate on the motion, this House would incentivize families to take care of their retired parents at home. We call the Prime Minister to the debate. Oh, maybe, sorry, wait 1 second also, Keita. Just to let the audience know, because some of you have not seen debating, after 1 minute, I'll go like this. You don't have to run away or leave the room. It means that the other team can ask points of information. And after 6 minutes, like this, it means the other team has to stop asking points of information. And 7 minutes like this means he should finish his speech. He can still say a few words extra, but he should finish. Okay? So when you hear me tapping the desk, don't think it's some emergency or it's nothing. It's just timing for the speech. Okay. So finally, one more time, the Prime Minister.
Hello everyone. Now another status quo. In Japan, many elderly people live by oneself. So finally, many elderly people is dying alone. So it is very serious program. And also now the status quo in Japan, helper is very lack of helper. So many elderly people cannot take carefully care. So this point is very big problem, we think. So to solve this problem, we strongly support this motion. Now let me move on. Definition. First, this house is Japan, and the second is incentive is give money for family to take care of their retired parents at home, and such money is 30,000 yen every month. This is because if more money, Japanese government's burden is too much, and more lower is not so support for such family. So 30,000 yen every month. And in Japan, retired age is over 60 years old. This is definition. And let me move on our argument. My argument is 3 points. First is lack of helper, and second is difficulty of nursing facility, and third is families relation. Third is understand personality. Let me move on our argument. First, lack of helper. Now, the status quo in Japan, helper is very hard work and low wage. So many people, not so much people, don't want to be helper. So in Japan, lack of helper, and also now in Japan, aging society is more and more. So in the future, more and more elder people there in Japan. So this lack of helper program is more and more serious, we think. So after plan, the families care their parents, so don't need so much helper, we think. So this is good point, we think. And second is difficulty of nursing facility. Now the status quo, elder people is go to nursing facility or living alone. Many elder people, if go to nursing facility, in nursing facility is very difficult for elderly people, because in such nursing facility there are many elderly people, and such people don't know for elderly people, so elderly people cannot do friendly with such people, so we think they feel very stressed, so they cannot make friendship with in nursing facilities members. And also at home is very get used used to place, living place, so they are not stressed, and family is not stressed, we think, so they can more and more relax at home for elderly people. But nursing facility is very cannot relax because such cannot know people in there. And also more problem is a nursing facility. In nursing facility is many helper need to care many elderly people, so they cannot fully okay.
You said that the lack of the helper is a big problem in Japan, but why don't you accept foreign worker for the helper?
Okay. Foreign worker is cannot understand Japanese culture, and so very gap between Japanese and foreign worker. So in foreign worker cannot solve problem, and also and in nursing facility many elderly people, so helper cannot fully care each elderly people, so there are some extent lack of fully care, so the elderly people cannot take fully care. And third point is will explain, my partner will explain, and also more point relation to children and parents is also explain next partner, my partner. So for these reasons, we strongly support this motion. Thank you for listening.
The Prime Minister spoke for 7 minutes, 6 seconds, and we thank him very much for his speech. So we now call the Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We see that the government side is agreed. They think that the government's role is to protect these old people to live in the society very well. We agree to the government's role to protect these people and to make them more adaptable to this society. But we think that the method should be different from the government side. So the government side have to prove why it is necessary to take care of the parents at their home, and they said it is more relaxed and make a more comfort environment for these parents. And they said, we think that they also have a they have to prove that they analyze what is the real problem in this society and have to prove the solvency of this policy, but we think they are failed in this aspect. So I'd like to rebut the 3 points to their argument, and I'd like to go on my argument. So first, they said that there is a problem of the lack of the helper and that there is a difficult problem. And they think that the main problem of the current status quo is that old people are dying alone and they think it's a serious problem, and they think that it's because of the lack of helper and lack of care to these people. But we do not agree, and I will be elaborate in my argument. But actually, the superficially rebutted to their point. First, we think that not every retired parents and not every people over 60 years people are not need helper, all these people. And secondly, in case of they need helper, the lack of facility and lack of helper, that we have to try to increase the number of the helper. We have to make the more facility to solve this problem direct way, and it is more economical way. So first, it's too burden to the children to care about their parents all day in their home. And second, helper is more adequate to take care of these people because they are professional people to take care of these people. So third, they said that it is more relaxation for the parents. We think that the relaxed in the home comparing the burden to the children. We think that the burden to the children is more severe problem to about this motion. So from now on, I'd like to talk about the first, what is the real problem? I'd like to analyze the problem in 4 points, and I'd like to prove why it is not a fundamental solution to solve this problem. And second, I'd like to talk about why the current system is better than this policy. And I'd like to suggest the right direction to solve the problem in the right way. And third, my second speaker will talk about the harm and benefit comparing this motion and the current system. So first, from now on, I'd like to analyzing the problem and prove why it can't be a fundamental solution with this motion. I think that there is 4 points of the problem. First, I think the first problem is the low birth rate in the society, and second is expanded lifespan of the old people, and third is the limit of the retirement age, and fourth, there is a change in the perception to supporting their parents to the young generation. First, low birth rate. We think that in the past, parents have 3 to 10 children, many children, about in the 1960th century, and it was hard to raise them. But all the burden to the children to support their parents is shared with these children. But nowadays, most of the married couple only bear 1 or 2 children, and it is too burdensome to these children to take care of their retired parents at home. So we think the low birth rate, it is related to this motion, with this problem. And second of all, especially in Japan, the expanded lifespan is also problematic. We think that in the current expected lifespan is expanded from the 80-year-old to the 90-year-old for the woman, and 70-year-old to the 80-year-old to the man. So in this case, the experts estimate that the lifespan is more expanded about 120-year-old in our generation. So in case take of their parents at home from adult 6-year-old to the 120-year-old is too burdensome their children. So with this motion, it will be a harsh situation to these children to take care of their home. It means that you have to support your parents about 30 to 60-year-old to the retirement until you retire, and then your son or your daughter have to take care of your 60-year-old parents and the 90-year-old your grandparents, and it will be a more worse the situation. And next generation could be take care of 3 generations of to these retirement parents at their home. So we think with this policy, it cannot solve this systematical problem with this motion. And third, it also comes from the problem that the retirement age. As I said before, people will live long over the 100 years, but the retirement age is set around 60 years in Japan, and it is make them unavailable to earn money in the state situation. So motion comes from this point that they are lack of the economical power. So we believe that the old people cannot do the economical activities, so there is a point that they have to dependent on their children to live a life with the money. So we think that they cannot afford or they're hard to live, so they think that they should be supported by their spring. So there is also a problem. So I think the solution should be a different way from this motion. And lastly, we think the perception of the supporting their parents has been changed to the young generation. People said the 40 to 60-year-old people we think that many young people do not think that they necessarily have to support parents at home, especially at home. Because of the individualism is all over the world, it is also in Japan. So children and parents both doesn't want to be interfered with their children or parents in the society. So we think in this society atmosphere, the motion is unnecessary, and even if it can be meaningless to some children and some parents. So we think that taking care of retired parents at home is not a right way to solve this problem. So now, from now on, I'd like to talk about what is the better way to solve this problem. So, why the current system, the pension system exists in the society? We think this is a better policy, basically, because first, to support parents to be independent, because we give money directly to the parents, not the family. So it means that in home, money is the main factor that controls the whole family. And when we give the money to the family and make them to live their life on their own, it makes it makes these old people more independently live in the society. So we think it's a better way to solve the problem. And also, we want to promote expand the retirement age rather than this motion, because the fundamental solution is the self-support to the old people, as I mentioned before, as I analyzed before. It's not a problem of the individual's mindset only. So, rest of this will elaborate in my deputy speakers. So with this reason, I'm very proud to oppose. Thank you.
The Leader of Opposition spoke for 7 minutes, 30 seconds. We thank her very much for her speech. And we now call the Deputy Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First, we cannot agree with the opposition's idea at all. Then first, I want to confirm what is the problem. Under this status quo, there are many other people who live alone, and they cannot get help from any other person, and there are limited facilities and amount of people who can take care of such elder people as a professional. So many people cannot get good care. So considering this problem, we strongly believe that this plan is the only way to solve such problem. And then this plan is to incentivize families to take care of their retired parents at home. So if you cannot take care of their parents, you can send your parents to a facility. So you have choices, and so I think this plan is good to be adopted. And then let me move on my argument. First, I want to enhance what my partner said. His first point is to decrease the burden of facilities. After taking this plan, more and more elder people will be taken at home, and many facilities and people who take care of such elder people as a professional can make room for taking care of other people who really need the help. And so this is good for such facilities. And moreover, children can understand what the parents want to do. So at home, the children can take care of parents maybe more well than other people, even though they are professional. And then, second, this plan is necessary to save the elderly. And as my partner said, now many old people live home alone, and so they have to shop what they need, or they have to wash their bath, or they have to make their dish, and some of them can be dangerous for them. So, for example, when such elderly person wash his bath, there is water on the floor, so he can slip and he can hit on his head. And if you are young, it is not so serious problem. But if you are elder, it can be a serious problem because they are not so strong as young people. And if such situation happened, there are no people who help him because they are lived alone. In such situation,
Sir,
sure.
how can you guarantee the good care at home? Because there are a lot of cases that they are abused by the children in their home.
Yes, but so as I said before, so if you feel it is too big burden, you can send your parents to facility. So if you can do it, you do. Sorry, and so in this problem, in this situation, to take care of the parents by the family is definitely necessary. And last, I want to talk about the necessity of this plan. It's more general idea. First, all children have an obligation to their parents because your parents take care of you. And so, for example, if you are in danger situation, they protect you. And so they can also, they paid the school fee for you. So there are many obligations you have, you got from your parents. And so we should reward such obligation. We have to, we should take care of, we should take care of the parents ethically. And then this plan also has more good points. After taking this plan, the relationship between parents and children can be improved because they start to live together. So they start to talk with each other more. They start to go somewhere together. And this is good because no one can tell when you will die or your parents die. And when you are, so for example, when your parents die, which do you want to think? Do you want to think, I had enough time to spend my time with my parents, or I have good memory with my parents? So I strongly believe that this plan is necessary. Thank you.
The Deputy Prime Minister spoke for 7 minutes, 37 seconds. And we thank him very much for his speech. We now call the Deputy Leader of Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, before I talk about anything else, I would like to tell you all that living alone is not a miserable thing. It actually increases your independence. We believe that the stakeholders in these debates are not miserable and are not immobile. We don't think that everyone is like that. So we believe that what my previous speaker has said a while ago will actually increase the choices for their parents, since there are existing methods available in the status quo, such as pensions or the educations that my previous speaker has mentioned. But before I move on to anything else, so I would like to rebut some points. First, the previous speaker has said that he believes that this is a better method. Mr. Speaker, there are professionals available in the status quo, and he also mentioned these professionals. The reason why professionals actually exist in the status quo is because they can provide professional services to these people. Then, like if with these people available, like we have mentioned in our POI, how do you actually guarantee that if these retired parents live at home, they're going to get the best services and the best needs, best response to all their needs? Second, he believes that this is necessary because these people are our parents who gave birth to us. Mr. Speaker, we believe that the previous speaker is under a very big assumption. Like, even if you think that you have a responsibility to actually take care of your parents, we believe that this is not going to solve the fundamental problem. Because like our Ewha has mentioned, she talked about the fundamental problem of first, low birth rate, second, expanding lifespan, and third, the vicious cycle of the fundamental problem that's actually going to be elongated if you actually promote this motion. So before I move on to anything else, are there any points? No. So, I would like, before I move on to my point where I'm going to discuss about the harms and benefits, such as like incentivizing versus pension, I would want to like elaborate the point that my previous speaker has mentioned. So my previous speaker has mentioned first, she believes that we have to strengthen the current methods in the society, such as pension. Pension, we believe that she also said that we believe that this is money is the main factor of main factor of the whole family, because obviously money makes the world go round. And with this financial power, we believe that this is actually giving certain people, certain party, a upper hand in a specific thing. I'm going to elaborate this a little bit more in my argument. So moving on to the second, what does she want to do? We would actually want to expand the retirement age, because she believes that the fundamental problem of this is because these retired parents are unable to support themselves. However, if we're going to actually expand the retirement age, these old people getting like part-time jobs and actually contributing to the society a little bit more, we believe that this is actually better than incentivizing. And third, in this respect, we actually would want to offer increased education in order to readapt to the society. How? Like we would want to actually promote education through the internet or even the computer in order to help them get even a part-time job. So moving on to my argument. So, Mr. Speaker, we have to actually put in mind that we're talking about retired parents. However, the government told us that they want to in order to support these people, they want to incentivize their families, not these retired people themselves. I would like you to put that in mind, because even if that is a good intention, we believe that we have to actually increase independency rather than dependency. So in this point, I'm going to compare and contrast. First, incentivizing versus strengthening the current methods such as pensions and readaptation programs. Mr. Speaker, so the reason why we're not really excited about incentives is because we believe that this is actually going to increase the dependency of their parents on their children, because they are, and we believe that this is actually going to enable them to express their own desires that well. And we also believe that this is going to increase the burdens for not only for themselves but also for their children. So we believe that in order for them to pursue their individual desires and needs and whatever they would want to do, we believe that they do not have to be tied up financially, physically, and also emotionally. So, if we're actually going to promote incentivizing specific families and not the retired people themselves, we believe that it's going to actually encourage a societal atmosphere where we're going to think about these retired people as first, incapable, second, dependent, and third, they have to be constantly cared to. So, we believe that incentivizing families and not their parents, even if it works, like I have mentioned a while ago, it's going to worsen the dependency problem. How? Because we don't believe that it's not going to work. Because like I have mentioned in my rebuttals, this, financially, this is actually supporting one specific party, which is the families themselves. So if we're actually going to if we're going to actually empower one party, like we believe that the retired parents who should be getting these direct benefits, they constantly have to ask if they do this, if they can like do this and do that. So like we believe that because these people actually have the upper hand, we also believe that they would not be able to do whatever they want. So so what are we trying to do at the end of the debate? We actually want to promote independency of these parents, and we believe that we would actually want to promote them to readapt to the society. So moving on to pension. The reason why we would actually want to strengthen pension is because first, it's going to be these programs are directly aimed at them, and second, they're actually going to directly benefit from them. So, right, there are existing methods such as pension, education programs, or readaptation programs. Like, if we're going to strengthen these, what kind of effect do we get at the end of the day? We believe that these people are going to directly benefit because they actually have a choice to do whatever they want. So, right, since these policies are actually directly aimed at them, and since this is actually aimed at them, and there's no concept as like in the upper hand or lower hand because of the whole financial issue. We believe that this is actually going to enable them to pursue certain things. So since they do not have to depend on certain parties for their needs, but they can actually get their needs and also their desires themselves, we believe that this is actually going to help them at the end of the day. So what the opening opposition has tried to do throughout the debate is this. We do not want to go through the vicious cycle of repeating problems, but we would want to promote individualism, independency, and that are actually going to directly benefit the fundamental stakeholders in this debate. So we are so proud to oppose this motion. Thank you.
Deputy Leader of Opposition spoke for 7 minutes 36 seconds. We thank her for her speech. And we now call the, moving to the closing half, we now call the Member of Government.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members of this House. Mr. Speaker, obviously the opening half seems to agree upon one thing, that there is a certain problem regarding our retired parents in the society. However, what they differ is the solution. While the opening government proposes that we should take these elderly into our home and let the family take care of them, the opposition believes that we should just let them go by themselves and raise their independency, Mr. Speaker. However, Mr. Speaker, the opening half falls into two kinds of deadlocks. First, who can take the best care, the helper or the children? And the second deadlock is that whether the pension is better or whether it's better to give incentives to the family to take care of their elderly parents. And in this debate, the closing government will try to solve these deadlocks to you and therefore take this debate home. But before I move on to anything else, I want to rebut some of the ludicrous points made by the opening opposition, Mr. Speaker. First, while they claim to say that they are identifying the fundamental problems, they are failing to do so because actually low birth rate, expanded lifespan, retirement age, and change of perspective are not actually the fundamental problems. The real fundamental problem that the closing government was able to identify is actually the failing virtue of family itself, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, we're going to prove to you why by passing this motion only can revive this important value in our life and prove to you why a government that is doing this is actually a humanitarian and a responsible government, Mr. Speaker. And I have two rebuttals in this case. To quote the leader opposition, she said, "In this society, our solutions are meaningless, Mr. Speaker," and which is we believe to be a very dangerous and stupid thing to say, Mr. Speaker. Because the opposition identified many problems of this motion, such as like the burdens of the children and the possible abuse of the elderly. However, Mr. Speaker, this is actually because of the social perception change. This is because the value of family is actually breached in the society, Mr. Speaker. They are so short-sighted and dangerous because they don't really know the fundamental problem, like I said before. This is because, like I told you before, family virtue is broken. So the issue of taking care of parents
can arise in the first place because of the virtue of family is broken in the first place. So if family virtue is still strong, how could you view taking care of your elderly parents as an economical burden, Mr. Speaker? So our team believes that by passing this motion, we can solve this fundamental problem and reunite the family and revive the virtue of family being together, Mr. Speaker. And the second rebuttal is that they came up with many alternatives such as pensions or increasing the retirement age or making them get trained for new jobs, Mr. Speaker. However, the problem is that this actually goes against our stance of reunifying family virtues because they are trying to increase the independency of the parents. They're just escaping their responsibility to reunite the family and try to make a harmonious family rather than family, and just trying to push the burden to a third party such as the helpers or the government or etc. So we believe that here is the place where our extensions comes in. Mr. Speaker, we have identified not only the surface problems in the opening half, but the most fundamental and ultimate and invisible problem, which is the breaching of the family values. We believe that the isolation and disparation of family is the most fundamental problem that has to be solved in order for our society to become functional again. So our extension is this. We believe that the virtue and importance of family and the reunification of family and the government that promotes these values and acknowledge the importance of them is actually a humanitarian government, and why we are also going to prove to you why this is only possible in our case. So I'm going to elaborate on the virtue of family, the virtues and the values of family. The family is the basic ground that founds a society. It's the smaller unit of society that fuels the larger society as a whole. So if the family fails, we all know that the society fails. And this is why the government emphasizes so much on policies that support the family. And I'm going to give you a parallel example to back up my case. Look at the case of governments trying to fund families that have more children, Mr. Speaker. And we believe that the government taking a direct step and taking a direct action in a certain problem by promoting and incentivizing a certain value is actually helpful, because first, it tells the people that the certain value the government is promoting is a good value in itself, and second, it actually works. Look at the case of Korea, where the government actually tried to fund the families and incentivize them for extra children. We see, although it is a very slight increase, the birth rate of children is actually increasing. We believe that the problem of solvency here is it can be seen as solved in the parallel example. In Asian countries such as Japan and Korea, they are growing more and more individualistic, like the opposition was able to identify. But the problem is that many people identify this as the basis of many social problems. So first, they have a problem trying to expand individuality as a solution to the problem, which is rooted in the individuality from the first place, Mr. Speaker. And also, the importance of family bonding is being degraded, and the notion and value of community itself is also failing. Sorry. We call humans as social beings, Mr. Speaker, because it forms a fundamental background of a creature growing into a human being. And we know that the family actually provides the initial and the most basic base for this creature to grow into what we call a human. For example, for the children, we see that if they are properly nurtured within a sound family, they grow up into become more better and more acknowledged people. And also, after people are grown up, even for the elderly, they still come back to their family to find a place for peace and vivacity. So this is why I have explained to you how the family makes a human live like actually a human. So if we pass this motion, Mr. Speaker, we can revitalize the value of family, because first, people who wanted to support the family but couldn't because they lacked the money can do so. And second, those who did not know the importance of raising their parents can actually know it because of the reasons I told you before, how the government's campaigns and actions actually have an effect in promoting certain values. And third, and how it actually has a real solvency, like in the example I told you, in the parallel example I told you. Therefore, promoting a society where human beings can live as a human being in the boundary of a sound family can be called as a humanitarian society, and therefore we are very proud to call ourselves the best government. Thank you very much. We're here.
government spoke for 7 minutes, 9 seconds. We thank her very much for her speech. And we now call the member of opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hello, everyone. We start. Now, in debate of opening half, the main issue was independence or dependence. We want to talk about how this motion is unjustifiable from another perspective. First, before moving to our argument, let me refer to the government side. I know that government side want to utilize helpers of daycare service, but as they said, as the Prime Minister said, Japan lacks helpers. And we believe that this motion do not solve the lack of helper because this motion doesn't incentivize becoming a helper. It just incentivizes for the children. So Japan doesn't have solvency. And as for the other points, we'll refuse explained in our argument. So let me move to argument. So later, please. There are two choices in Japan in taking care of the elderly parents. The first choice is home care, and the second choice is facilities care. We believe that facilities care is superior to home care in 3 points. The first point is that in home care, who treat elderly people is not professional. Those who treat elderly people in home care is family. Of course, they are not professional, so they don't know how to treat elderly people in the case of emergency. For example, when elderly people fail and can't stand, they don't know how to stand on themselves. Let them stand on themselves, and because and the point. Sorry. Okay.
We think families know parents.
Okay. I'll explain later. And they don't know how to get along with elderly people. So they can become emotional when elderly people ask some selfish order. And now he says that parents know about the parents, but we don't think so because the parents is different from what they were 20 years ago because aging changes people. But on the other hand, the agency in daycare, the agency of facilities care knows what old people is, so they are not puzzled by the changings of the parents, and they can treat more properly. Okay.
If you're just going to send your elderly to another place, how are you going to revive the family virtue?
Okay, I'll explain. The second point, which facility care is better than home care, is that the burden of family is smaller. Firstly, the burden of body. The children have to, when children have to take care of their parents, the children have to take care of children's children at the same time. So it is very difficult to take care of both these two people at the same time. And even after the children's children is grown up, they go to rural, so they go to urban area to find a job. So in this time, the children have become old. So in this case, older people will take care of old parents. So this is very big burden for body. And second point is about mental burden. In the facilities care, those who take care of elderly people can get money as a salary. But in home care, they are not rewarded. So it is very big burden stress. The third point, the third point is that the home care facilities care relieves the loneliness. In home care, family can meet the parents, but they can't meet friends because their friend is also rather old, so the old friends cannot visit their house. But on the other hand, in facilities care, there are many elderly people which share the same circumstance, so they can make friends with other elderly people, and of course, families can visit the facilities. So in short, in home care, elderly people can only meet family, but in facility care, elderly people can meet both family and friends. So it is better. And so they repeat that they mentioned the virtue of family, but as we explained, this home care have a big burden on the family. So this big burden will break the connection of children and parents, because children is so hard because of the existence of parents. And we explained the facility care. In facility care, children can visit parents. So in this case, the virtue of family is protected. And so under such situation, then why children choose home care rather than family facility care? This is because facility care is rather inexpensive. So if they can afford to facility care, they want facility care, but they can't because it is expensive. And this motion is very unjustifiable because this motion supports cheap choice. This motion do not support expensive choice. This is very unreasonable. We should support expensive choice, and so that poor people can afford facility care. So we try to oppose this motion. Thank you.
The member of opposition spoke for 7 minutes 35 seconds. We thank him very much for his speech. And we now call the government whip.
Mr. Speaker, this debate has been a really confusing debate, but at the end of the BP debate, you're supposed to see 4 teams standing, but however, we see just only 1 team standing, our CG standing, because we were the only one who engaged upon every other teams, and also gave you the real solution to the real fundamental problem, which is the collapsed virtue of family and the concept of family Mr. Speaker, we think that the solution or the problem given by the opposition bench is actually the byproduct of the problem which was given by our member of government, which is the distracted virtue of family. So, Mr. Speaker, this debate all comes down to which team actually speculated the fundamental problem and engaged upon how we can actually solve that problem, and how we can solve and justify the solution for that problem, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yes.
I know what you mean, but how could you afford the 2 to 3 generation in your hall?
Mr. Speaker, we see this as a problem we have to actually solve in this debate. Mr. Speaker, we don't think the virtue of family and what the government should promote into the society cannot be materialized or measured by economical measures, which, if that virtue is so important and so big
so big, so that it has a big impact on the society, which was already given by our member and also given by the opening opposition. Mr. Speaker, and before I move on to any clashes, I want to make one clarification. Mr. Speaker, the claim from the opposition bench was about how all retired parents don't have to be supported by their children and how independence of these people are important in the society. Mr. Speaker, we agree, well, to some point that independence will be important and how and be respected in some aspect. However, Mr. Speaker, we're giving an option to these people. We're incentivizing these people. If these family want to bring back their parents, retired parents to their home, if some retired parents think they can be independent and live out their own, it's fine, so be it. We say it's an option to give out many options as much as we can, and we don't think their whole argument about independence don't stand in this today's debate. Mr. Speaker, let me move on to my clashes, which the closing government took all in today's debate. No, thank you. First, about what is the real problem. Mr. Speaker, the opposition gave you this problem of how there's no source of money to support these retired parents. And as opening opposition already told you, we are talking about retired parents, Mr. Speaker. We think these people have already contributed to the society. They've already paid taxes. They've already been a responsible citizens. We think they deserve we think they deserve a better care from the home, even from the tit-for-tat perspective. Mr. Speaker, we think it's a really miserable society if these people have done their job already and then again suffer from the worry and the worry about making extra effort to integrate themselves again to the society, even though they have already been to the society. They've been through all the process of adopting themselves to the society, Mr. Speaker. And second analysis about this problem coming from closing government was that virtue of family is the real fundamental problem and real issue in today's debate. Mr. Speaker, our member of government already given you the new insight to the debate by telling how virtue of family is so important in the society, how government should promote this virtue, and how this virtue is connected to all the problems which was given by the opposition. Yes.
As we said, the burden of the children, after taking this one, the burden of the children will be increased. We believe that will break the virtue of the family.
Mr. What?
After taking this part, the burden of the children will be increased. That will break the family.
Mr. Speaker, as I told you again and again, we think that is the problem. That is the problem we have to solve, and that is the problem which can be solved by this motion. I've not even finished with the POI. Mr. Speaker, when we think about it, we were raised by our parents. We were supported by our parents when we were young, and we learn from these parents, learn from families what we have to learn in order to get into the society when we are young. However, those perspective is kind of a byproduct of changed perspective of the concept toward the concept of family, which is different from a long time ago. And second clash is about examining who give more justification for the solution. They gave out pension and how these people can readopt themselves into the society and how individualism is so prominent in this current status quo. Mr. Speaker, this pension and readaptation doesn't solve any problem which was given by our member, which is collapsed virtue of family. And secondly, we told you why the family should be the main actor to take care of those retired parents. Because, Mr. Speaker, well, when we talk about family, when we talk about like real basic community or unit which consists of society, we think these people can be taken care of from those community who knows these people better, the best, and who was living their life with these people, Mr. Speaker. And for all these reasons, we believe that closing government is the best government which promotes the best virtue to the society, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
The whip speaker spoke for 7 minutes, 45 seconds. We thank her very much for her speech. And we now call the opposition whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and hello, ladies and gentlemen in this house. In today's debate, we are talking about which is better for the elder people and children, house caring or nursing in the facilities. We believe that the latter is better for the family. The latter is better for both family members and elderly people. The first way, let me refute what the closing government proposed, the family budget argument. They believe that after taking this proposal, they believe that the family budget is one of the most important thing in our society, because they believe that the family is one of the basic function in the society. But we believe that after taking this proposal, the fund will not solve this program, because as my partner had already told you, the home caring is a big burden for the children, because family members are not professional in nursing. The family member cannot get the payment for the nursing, and they will get stressed physically, both physically and mentally. The burden of the children is very, very, very big. So after taking this proposal, family budget will not revive. We believe that will worsen the situation. So the argument doesn't stand. Okay, let me move on. Let me summarize our argument. The program of the status quo is the lack of the helpers, and the many elderly people living alone. But we believe that our plan is the best solution to solve both programs, because let me reconstruct my partner's argument. He said, we believe that facility nursing is much more better than any other solution. We believe, because the facility members are professional, but family members are not. In case of emergency, the family member cannot solve the emergency program, but the facility members are professional, and so they can solve the program. So it is much better. And we believe that the family members can be more emotionally, because it is a big burden for the family member. Home caring is a big burden for the family members. So they can be more emotionally, we believe. But professional people are trained, so they are not. We believe that they are not. They don't tend to become more emotionally. They are very reasonably. So we believe. So it is much better. It is much better. So it is much better. And and we believe that house caring is a big burden, but the big burden for the family because they are not professional. Firstly, they are not professional. They cannot get any payment or if possible, very few payments. So it is big burden. It is big burden. So the family member become more stressful after taking this plan. But if we use the facility, this program can be solved. We believe. Okay. Okay. And moreover, the family member, because family member have to take care of their elderly parents, they cannot work so much. So it is very big burden for the families. And okay.
If parents go to facility, it is need too much money. We think it is a burden for family.
But we believe that incentivize sending their parents to the facility is much better than this plan. So so we believe that the if they don't have enough money to send their parents to the facility, government can support them. Finally, we believe that in the facility there are many elderly people. There are many elderly people in the facility with similar backgrounds, so they can be more. They can make friends. Elderly people can make friends each other, so they can be more social active. So social active. So okay.
It can cause also stress for the elderly people.
Sorry, sir?
It can also cause stress for such elderly people.
I don't
have to interact with other people.
I don't understand your argument, but we believe that the facility is much better because member of the sorry. There are many people, elderly people with similar backgrounds, so they can share their value, their thinkings, so they can be friends. So they can be more social active. So the opening opposition will say that promotion of the readaptation to the society is very important, but our plan is a much better solution to promote the adaptation to the society. So for these reasons, we strongly believe that facility is the best solution to solve this program. Thank you very much.
The which speaker spoke for 7 minutes, 4 seconds, and we thank him very much for his speech. So we now would like to ask all the debaters to cross the floor, shake hands with members of the other teams. Shake hands with each other. Audience members, take a look at your notes. Try to think which team made the most impressive arguments and what were the main areas of disagreement between the two sides, and then which team persuaded them. So we'll have a discussion about who won the debate. And after our discussion, we can also ask the debaters questions. Okay, so everybody, these are the questions we're going to talk about to decide who won the debate. Let's read these questions all together. Are you ready? Yes. Okay, number 1.
What one major point two sides disagree about?
The clashes. Okay, and number 2.
What was the best argument you heard in the debate?
Which team did the most to make that argument stand out? Okay, 3rd. Which team had a clear vision of what it wanted to prove, or was the most logical and organized? number 4. Which team supported its arguments with the best explanations and evidence? And number 5. Which team best engaged with and rebutted arguments for the other side? Okay. So these are the 5 things we're going to talk about. Thinking about those things and just taking your general feeling, what I want you to do now is you just, somewhere like on the back of your paper somewhere, you can just draw a grid, a 2x2 grid, and put the rankings for teams. You might not be sure. So for example, suppose you think that opening opposition was first place, but then you're not sure about second place, like one of the government teams. You could put sort of like 2, 3, sort of like that, or 2, 2, or something like that. And then you think closing opposition was the worst, something like that you could do, right? Or if you think, well, for sure, like I know, opening opposition, they were the worst. And I know opening government was next, but I'm not sure about those 2 teams, or something like that, right? You don't have to have a perfect ranking, but some idea like that of how you think the teams should rank. And all the debating teams too, you guys like talk with your partner, make up your own mind about what you think the ranking should be for this debate, okay? So, and I'm going to put up the rankings that we get here. So this is what opening government will think the rankings should be. This is what opening opposition will think the rankings should be. This is what closing government thinks the rankings should be. This is what closing opposition thinks the rankings should be. This is a total vote. This is me. And then this is going to be our final decision after we discuss. All right? So after we discuss, then we'll make a final decision about what the ranking should be. Might take a little bit long. We have about 10 minutes on the regular schedule, but we have an hour and 15 minutes for lunch, so we can go a little bit over time and still have time to eat lunch. We'll probably go a little over time. We'll start our lunch break around 12:20 maybe, or 12:25 instead of 12:15. And then after that, class starts again at 1:30. Okay, so everybody think, draw your grid, make your rankings. In 30 seconds, I'm going to ask the teams what you think your rankings should be. Okay, opening government, what's your ranking? Who's first? Opening government team. Keita, what's your ranking? Keita and Kodai. Yeah, what do you guys think? Who's first place? You? Of course, you or somebody else? Who do you think?
Of course.
Of course. Okay, who's second place? All right, opening opposition, what's your ranking? All right, closing government, what's your ranking? All right, closing opposition, what do you think? All right, well, looks like there's a diversity of opinions here. No consistent pattern yet. All right, a vote. A vote. How many people want to give first place to opening government? Raise your hand. First place to opening government. No votes, okay? How many people want to give first place to opening opposition? Raise hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, how many people want to give first place to closing government? Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, how many people want to give first place to closing? Oh, wait, sorry, I wrote that in the wrong place. How many people want to give first place to closing opposition? Raise your hands. 1. Okay, so, well, that's pretty clear. First, second, third, fourth then, right? This is our sort of the voting. right, my rankings were 1, 2, 3, 4. So we all have very different rankings, actually. None of them match, right? That means it was a fairly close debate, maybe somewhat confusing debate. So that means to make our final decision, we have to look at clashes. We have to analyze what happened in the debate. So the first thing we should look at really are what were they clashing about? What were the things that they really disagreed about a lot? So somebody tell me, what's one thing that you thought was a big disagreement all through the debate? This side and this side had different opinions. Yes, ma'am.
Who will take care of the elderly people?
Uh-huh.
Family or someone?
Okay, who cares for the elderly? I think what you mean is who cares for them better, right? Who cares for the elderly better? Okay, what's your name? Yui. Okay, thank you. Yeah. That's one big clash. Who cares for them better? These people say the family cares for them better. These people say no, professionals care for them better, right? Okay? What other points were there big clashes about? Any other points, or was there one clash in this debate? Yes?
The virtue family.
Okay. So, the virtue of family versus virtue of, what's the other side of the clash? Independence, exactly. That's a clash in this debate, right? Virtue of family versus virtue of independence. Good. Shiro? Right, Shiro, thank you. Okay. Any other clashes that you heard in this debate? Yes, Yui.
Who to give money to?
Okay, right. So, like, where's the financial burden, or what's the financial effect? And those are three clashes. I think there's one more that I can think of. Any other clashes in this debate?
House care or nursing facility.
Right, I think that's this. Who cares for the elderly better, right? That's part of this clash. In the closing half of the debate, it was clearly like home versus nursing facility. In the opening half, it was a little less clear. It was home was clear versus facility or like a helper. It could be either one. In the second half, they were just talking about facilities. One more clash, I think. Yes, Yui.
What is the fundamental problem?
Exactly. What's the fundamental problem? Right. So what is the fundamental problem? On this side, it's that elderly people are lonely and that they don't get care. On this side, it's that elderly people are, I don't know, what is it? The whole society, it's like the problem is just that the whole society has more elderly people. That's what opening half says, right? So and then in closing half here, we get a slightly different problem. Opening half, the problem is that the elderly people are lonely, that they don't get proper care. Closing half is that the whole family, the nature of society again. The whole society doesn't care enough about families. So I think these are the four major clashes. All right? And then, second point then. What are the best arguments you heard in the whole debate? And which team did the most to make those arguments really stand out as important? So the first clash anybody mentioned was this one. Who cares for the elderly better? That was maybe the argument that stood out the most in your mind. Which team made well, maybe not though. Maybe some other argument. You tell me. What's the best argument you heard in the whole debate? Like what really stands out in your mind as something that convinced you? A lot of you voted for opening opposition, so maybe it was one of their arguments. Or maybe not. What's the very best argument? Anybody? Okay? Professionalism of the caretakers. Which team made that argument stand out? That would be probably an opposition argument. Which team made that argument stand out in your mind the most? Opening opposition. So you're giving them sort of like an advantage in this clash. Okay? Anybody else with a different opinion? Hayato says the professionalism of the caretakers in the facilities, that they know more. What if the elderly people slips and falls or something while they're trying to clean their back in the shower?
I have a question.
Yes.
I think we believe that the best care for elderly people is themselves.
Uh-huh.
And in the case that they cannot care about themselves,
right,
is this, the helper is the...
Okay, well that's actually a good point. I think maybe something we didn't, like who cares for the elderly better? They said, well, a lot of the elderly people don't need care, don't need people to care for them anyway. They can be independent. So these clashes are sort of related, right? The clash about the fundamental problem is sort of related to the virtue of the family versus virtue of independence argument. And the clash about who cares better is then also in a sense related to their idea that there isn't a problem with elderly people or with their lives, that the problem is just with society as a whole is facing like more and more elderly people. So these are related clashes, but in debating always what you need to do as a judge, you need to sort of organize in your mind, well these are the different areas I'm going to look at. As a debater too, something the whip speakers probably should have done a little more in a more organized way is saying, well, what are the clashes in this debate? Which teams, did better or worse in this debate? Okay, let me just ask a few other people. Not Naota, right? No. Naoya. What did you think was the best argument? Like, what really stood out in your mind? Sorry, the virtue of family. So then that, you would say closing government had a strong argument there. Okay, Kota, what was sort of stood out as the best argument in your mind?
I also think the virtue of family.
You also like the virtue of family argument as like the best argument in the debate. Let's see, I get Yojin, what stood out in your mind? So virtue of family argument, you really like that one? Oh, a lot of people, well, based on our discussion now, it looks like closing government is doing better and better and better, although they did get a second in the overall vote, right? I'll just share for me, I thought actually that the argument that stood out most strongly was about who cares for the elderly, but I thought opening government's arguments about why the family can do better, that they understand them better, that they grow up in the same environment, the same neighborhood, like all those things. I think they were rebutted a little bit very late by closing opposition, something about, but they're different when they're 60 years old and then when they're, or like it takes time and they change. But that rebuttal didn't affect me. So I sort of give opening government some credit in this, in terms of that clash. Okay. It's with this many judges, it's probably very hard to resolve all the differences in terms of what we thought maybe was the most impressive argument or least impressive argument. But, yeah, and we're also running out of time. But let's just look and see generally, did government or opposition have more persuasive arguments in each area of the clash? So how about for the financial effect? Like in terms of the cost. Government team is arguing that, well, they say that it's hard for the parents and hard for society to care for elderly people, but the government can support them by giving them 30,000 yen per month, and then that will help care for the cost. Opposition says, on the other hand, well, but we're going to have like these large extended families with many generations. It's going to be hard for them to care for the cost anyway. And what else do we have? And then there's a little bit about the cost of whether it's going to cost less to support the family to care for them or whether like it costs less to support nursing facilities as well. Generally, who would you say wins the argument about financial effect of the proposal? Or is it even? How many people say government side should win that? Nobody? How many people say opposition side should win that? Nobody? Yeah, it's not very strongly argued on either side, I think. I give a little bit of an edge to government because I think they have a specific proposal. Like, being specific is good to me. And so arguments like, well, but the nursing facilities would be able to do it cheaper. Well, I need, some more specific arguments about why. Or, well, we'll have many generations living in a family so they can't do it. But I need a little bit more on opposition. But it's not a very important clash. How about this? This is probably the most important clash in the debate. It's the main one. So, who cares for the elderly better? One of you, Hayato, right? You said that opening opposition really persuaded you.
But opening government also good.
Was good. What do you think in general? Who cares for the elderly better? Will the family do a better job or will the facilities do better with professional help? How many people say government should win this clash as a whole? A couple. How many? 3, 4. How many people say opposition should win this clash as a whole? 5, 6. How many people say it's even? Not sure. Not sure. Raise your hand. A few. Okay. Again, like I said, I already said I thought government should win that one by a little bit. But close again. Fundamental problem. What is the fundamental problem? Is it elderly people are living lonely, not getting the care they need? Is it that society as a whole is just facing changes that we need to go through? Or is it the family is somehow undervalued in our society? I guess a lot of you said you liked this virtue of family argument. So you think government wins this clash? How many people say government wins this clash? Raise your hands. How many people say opposition wins this clash? Raise your hands. 1 or 2. Okay, you have some reasons. All right. And then last, what about the virtue of family versus the virtue of independence? This wasn't presented as like a problem. It was just presented as a value, especially by opening opposition. That independence itself is good, that some elderly people can and should take care of themselves, and that if they're in the family, they'll feel more burden, and that the family will have too much control over them. Versus, but the family itself is important, and we should try to increase the family rather than independence. How many people say government should win this clash? A lot of you, again, you like this virtue of family argument. Okay, how about many people say opposition should win this clash? A few, okay, right. All right, so we're almost out of time. I will explain why I made my decision, and then a couple minutes for questions, and then we need to go to lunch. So, the reason I made my decision, and our discussion hasn't really changed my mind very much, although these were, I think, the 2 closest teams in my mind. And maybe after our discussion, this is what happens in a real judgment in a British parliamentary debate. There are always 3 judges or more, and they make a joint decision after a discussion. And so sometimes people change their votes. They say, oh, you persuaded me. I should put that team higher, or I should put that team lower, right? But my feeling, that I think the biggest difference I have with all of you is that this virtue of family argument did not impress me at all. I thought it was very, very, very abstract. And it was almost just like dropping a name or a label on something. Like, the virtue of family, what does that mean? I don't think they ever explained. I don't think anything concrete that was said in the closing government team added anything beyond what opening government said, which is that families understand each other, they know each other, they can care for each other better. Besides that, what is virtue of family? There were some very, very, very vague explanations. It's fundamental to our society. If we don't have family, society collapses. All these are just such extreme assertions that to me they actually hurt that team's credibility rather than helped it. I think there was, in the Prime Minister's speech, a little bit of a missing principle. He was talking about very practically how families could help take care of elderly members of the family. What he didn't say is why fundamentally is it good for the family to do this. But I thought the deputy actually came in and filled in a little bit about that. He talked about the obligation of children to take care of their parents because the parents had raised them. So I thought that even in opening government, we had sort of a basic principle underlying what they were doing, and that essentially this virtue of family didn't do much more. So while I agree government had many good arguments, I think government won. Well, this clash I'm not really sure who won, actually. But I think that was a good clash. This clash I'm not really sure who won. But I think these two clashes, I thought opening government both, were much stronger than any other team in terms of being very specific and in terms of pointing out a specific problem and a specific solution. So I thought it was very close between the top two teams, but I thought in the opening half of the debate we got most of the important arguments. Most of the clashes came up in the opening half. Who helps better? Fundamentally, what's the problem? A little bit about finance, which just wasn't very well argued on either side, and then a little bit about principles as well. That's why I voted first for opening government, second for opening opposition. I thought, in terms of the virtue of independence, I thought that was actually the second best argument in the debate. But only second best. I thought this was a bigger clash and a little more important, so I gave it to opening government over opening opposition. And then closing half, I don't think you actually brought in a lot. Now, I do credit closing government with trying to make a very clear extension and trying to differentiate themselves and say, we have something different, this virtue of family argument. I just didn't think it was different. I thought it was just adding a fancy label to something that had already been said. So, as I said, to me that actually hurt them. Like, even though what they were trying to do was good, I didn't think it helped. I thought closing opposition actually didn't add a lot to what opening did, but it did have a little more specific explanation of why a facility could actually help better. And their best point, I thought, in closing was the idea of social interaction in a facility and how if they're just at home, they might not be able to meet anybody. I don't think government bench ever rebutted that. So in terms of this question, which team best engaged in rebutted arguments, I think, again, that hurts closing government a lot because I thought closing opposition had a good point that closing government didn't rebut. And that hurt just a little bit. I thought there was good engagement in the opening half. I thought it was very clearly an opening half debate. The first two teams should take the top two positions. And then closing half, I was also unsure a little bit. So if you want to modify it, my ratings would be sort of like this. 1 and 2, but very close. 3 and 4, and very close. That would be my decision. Based on the discussion, depending on who the judges are, if there are 3 judges and you really can't agree, then you end up voting. And so if 2 of 3 judges say, no, closing government should get third, right, then that's fine with me. I have no problem with that. Or if 2 of 3 judges say opening opposition should get first, I'd have no problem with that. In fact, if 2 of 3 judges vote like closing opposition should get first, there's nothing I can do as one single judge. In the end, we can vote. But I would hope that I would be able to convince them at least that these should be the top 2 teams and these should be the second 2 teams.